The end of month reports. On the income for we have received $18,278.71. For expenses for the month of November is $13,663.14. So we have a positive cash flow this month of $4,615.57. The next page from there is the account balances in our two accounts for as of the end of November. For the 2.5 or general ledger account, we have a balance of $118,579.73, and the balance on our grant accounts is $268.05. And the last page is just a wrap up of the operating expenses year to date. Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to accept and pay bills pending audit?
Airport manager's report, you have in front of you fuel survey. It took over the weekend. Our fuel is, compared to the airports around here, is right down in the lower echelon of what's happened. It rained everything up to 565 or 580 for some others, so you can review that if you will, but we're there. We're gonna probably take a fuel shipment in the next month or so. It's gonna be slowing down maybe a little bit now, but we'll be probably taking fuel in there. Airside inspections, tie downs, lights, we're getting ready for the winter season. We've staked all of the lights so that they'll be visible for us when we're working the snow. Hopefully we won't have the snow that we had last year or anywhere near it. So having said that, we're getting that ready. We had to order a new board for that truck because it was worn out already after 45 years. And I got a new one coming for this plow over here because it's right down to the thing again. We're getting carbon tech boards, but they've gone down, so time to do that. Just wanted to give you that you see that in the treasurer's report. USDA wildlife program update. We had another taking of wildlife here in October. I don't have the written report, which I will be getting from them with the whole program. That was the third time that they came, and this time they took 4 deer. So the first time they took 5, the second time I think they took a coyote, and the third time they've taken 4. He said that there are more out there. I don't know the specific of how they flushed them, but I think that what they did was they flushed from this way to that way. He said they went over to the fence over there by Middleborough Avenue, and they just blew right out of the airport like it wasn't there. And that's part of it. He wishes to continue, wants to know if we want. I said, well, give us the synopsis of what you got, what you did, what we got to pay him, the whole thing, and then we'll go from there instead of committing to an ongoing program at this particular time. Which brings me to the second part of what.
And that was, you said they by Middleborough Avenue fence, is that the 4-foot fence?
That's the 4-foot fence section that they were talking about. He was talking about, yeah. Which brings us to the second part of what it is, which is on our master plan initiatives, which is the wildlife management assessment that the FAA will sponsor, and we've been advised way back to get into it once we started having an issue and it was brought to light. So therefore, that will probably be coordinated with what we got as in 2016. That'll probably be our effort as to what we're going to have as an ongoing effort for wildlife.
Yep.
That was all I have right now. I was off for during November, so I don't have anything else on a day-to-day action to report to you. Thank you.
Anybody, Commission, got any questions? The engineering firm, we published them so we could get input from the users of the airport. There were some legitimate concerns on the scope. Once you got past the personal aspects of some of the stuff that came in, I would recommend that we accept these SOPs and set a subcommittee to address the concerns that were made and make a recommendation back to the commission once that committee has finalized. I'm speaking.
I know.
Once the recommendations are approved, we will send these, the SOPs up to MassDOT for their approval. I recommend Jan to chair that committee with Bob and Bill as committee members and Joe and Dan to serve in advisory position. Jan?
I was just gonna say, make a motion to accept them, but to have a committee to review, after they come back, or before they come back, before we send them up to, MassDOT to review.
How about some discussion on it?
Do I have a second on that?
How about some discussion on it?
We'll go second, then discussion.
Second.
Okay,
Now discussion.
now discussion.
On that, I don't recommend that we approve this tonight for several reasons. Number one is that in order, I think, for the commission to properly vote on this, we should be aware of and see the recommended changes, which I am not aware of. I know people have sent comments, but I don't have a set of comments before me to review. I have reviewed the SOPs, and I have some very deep concerns in that, in addition to policies and procedure, there are regulations in there. Regulations which would require a particular process for promulgation. Particularly throughout the SOPs, you'll see the word ordinance. And I had questioned where that had come from, and I've been told that these SOPs are basically a conglomeration of SOPs, regulations, and ordinances that were gleaned from other airports and other sources. The problem with this is that we have regulations in addition to the SOPs in here. And as such, we cannot approve them in its current condition. In order for us to approve them, we need to bifurcate, separate the regulations from the policy and procedure. And I think that would take essentially a committee of definitely Joe, who's put a lot of time into this, representative from Airport Solutions Group who put this together, and members of the commission so we could look at them. The other issues that I have is there are conflicts between definitions of our SOPs and FAA regulation, some of which are outdated. These are certainly not in any shape to be approved tonight. And I'm suggesting that we defer it so that we can review it, separate them, and if we have to deal with regulation, we do that in its entire separate process, which requires publication in a newspaper, public hearings, and the like. These SOPs purport to be policy and procedure, but they also regulate conduct, giving unilateral authority to certain individuals to implement punitive measures. That's a regulation. Policy and procedure doesn't do that to the degree that this does. So we need to look at it to separate the policy procedure from the regulation and go forward from that perspective. And I think that the committee that you're recommending to be put together should be able to handle that with additional input. And I would suggest that we would have a member or two from the airport community sit on that committee as well. Simply so that we have a balanced policy and procedure and balanced regulation.
This is administrative business.
You're right, this is.
And so the administration takes care of the.
Now, you're right.
I'm speaking. Okay?
Let's speak.
And the administration takes care of it. We can accept it tonight.
No, we can't. No, we can't.
I'm speaking.
Go ahead and speak.
We can accept it tonight with the stipulation that with any recommendations come back from the committee, we can review
No.
these. I'm speaking.
Keep going.
We can come back with the committee, can make those recommendations, and we can accept or deny the recommendations, but do it with that stipulation that committee comes back and we'll review this if we can. You have to,
Bill, I'm not disagreeing with you on reviewing that. So, but I think
one person
we
speaking.
need to, these SOPs have already been accepted in their previous form, and they go for legal review. So I'm okay with accepting them. I'm also okay with what you're saying, we have to review them. So I think we accept them, get those questions answered that you're asking, send it for the review, for the legal review by MassDOT, and then they send it back and we can work on it.
Well, I think we just, turn things backwards here, and that what we need to do is take a look at this before it goes up to them. And I do agree, this is an administrative procedure, which is regulated by the Massachusetts Administrative Procedures Act, which dictates how this goes. A portion of what we're looking at, we certainly as a board can
People are
implement.
almost saying the
Wait a
same
minute.
thing.
No, I'm not. No, what I'm saying is that you have regulation, like as in Code of Mass Regulation, ordinance, bylaw, municipal law, which has to go through certain processes. That is contained in these SOPs. In addition to the policy and procedure, we need to pull them out, because otherwise, this board is acting way outside its authority. And I don't see any harm in delaying this for one more meeting so the committee could get together and pull those things out. Because I can guarantee you, this is gonna end up in the Attorney General's office by Monday.
Okay. Charlie?
Okay, I just want to concur with Bill and add that, for the sake of one, I don't see what the hurry is to adopt these, because for the sake of 1 month, get it right, and then put it up for vote and do it, why, with all the hinges on it,
It's just that if we accept it with the stipulation, then we're fine.
No.
Well, why even bother, just put it off for a month, accept it in its final form, and get it right.
Okay.
I was just going to add, Mr. Chairman, I thought we had talked, we were going to build a working committee to take all the input that we had received and correlate the input, or come back with a recommendation to the commission for approval. Was that what was said? I may be misinterpreting this.
No, we're gonna approve it tonight and then come back to the commission, set up the committee and the recommendations, they'll pick, with the concerns that were put out there. And then the committee will come back and then we'll approve, subject to those.
It's going up for a legal review as it is, correct? That's what it's going
Go to the
back.
matter.
So they're gonna review it, and they've already approved it so there may be some additions, corrections need to be made.
Yep.
But let them come back with those things, and then we can address those items at
We're
that
gonna have to
time.
address it after they come back.
That's all I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
disagreeing.
what I'm saying is that you can do that with the policy and procedure part. The problem is that this form that is 150 pages long contains regulation. It contains it right now.
But it's been there, that's what I'm saying. It's
No,
not-
no. There's been significant changes and additions put into this. And even if they were approved previously, they're not valid now. And they need to go through the promulgation process.
Bob, go ahead. Bob, you have something? Did you want to say something?
I'm not objecting to them,
No, absolutely.
to being
You're gonna be
implemented.
sitting
It's-
on the review board to look at this.
Right.
What's the problem?
I think that the vote needs to come after the review.
Yep.
You're putting the vote first. In other words, what you're saying is that we're gonna empower a select group of people to make decisions, which we shouldn't be doing. When it comes back to approval, it needs to be by this entire board. Has everyone on this commission seen these recommended changes? I haven't been given a copy of this, so I'm not comfortable with this.
They will be, when it comes back to the board will be doing the approval.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't,
Yeah. We have.
So if we're,
and
let
then
me
if somebody
clarify
doesn't
this.
regulation out, they
He's
can.
still got the floor, yeah.
If somebody takes it
I know you.
wrong, the
I know.
MassDOT will pay it, if they takes the regulation.
I know, that's fine, but let one person speak. It just, we're trying, I know you're excited about this whole thing,
I sure am.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
What are we voting on tonight? To put this into committee for review, to come back to us, and then go to,
Well,
No,
no.
no,
no, that's what you want.
that's exactly what I want, and that's what I'm saying is the correct process.
We got, in a second. Yeah.
One question, what's the rush?
There's no rush. It ain't gonna make any difference. To me, it's not making a difference, because it's still gotta go up to Mass Dot, and they gotta get their approval.
I mean, we're still gonna have to go to attorney too, but I mean, you got an attorney
Yeah,
sitting right here that's giving a
just-
legal opinion better
just-
than.
No, I'm not giving a legal
Or
opinion.
just giving his opinion, which is better than any one of us can put in, you know, and I don't see the harm in waiting a month and not
Just
screwing
put
up.
it to vote. That's the only thing I can say. We got a motion, a second, we discussed it. I'll call
Juanita.
a motion to accept it and have, the
Juanita.
committee members and the advisory committee as
I
what's
will
on the
accept
thing?
being on the advisory committee, that's not an issue.
Okay. First, I got a second.
I made it.
All in favor?
No,
Against?
no,
It carries.
You get the vote.
not,
You guys are affecting everybody on the airport, and there's no public input?
Yes,
Come on.
at the end. You got the public input at the
Come
end.
on, you guys just voted on something that nobody even had a chance to put any input on.
New business. Okay, Joe, we're gonna set the rates for next year.
Okay, based on the request to take a look at the rates, you have two pieces of paper in front of each commissioner. One should be the operating expenses for the past 3 years, and the other is a recommended fee structure. The expenses from 2013 to 2015, they've been roughly the same. Under the very last or bottom line should be, for the lack of a better term, I use net profit for the airport. In 2013, we were recovering from a real downside. But in 2014 and 20, fee structure change is only to the lease agreements, leases, and only to the point that it keeps pace with inflation. So I'm making a recommendation for 1% or under. For the leases, for building lease, I'm recommending that we go up a 0.5% from $8.85 to $8.90 per square foot, and under property lease, going from 20.5 cents per square foot to 21 cents per square foot. The rest of the fees, I'm recommending we stay the same. There's no need for an increase, because our expenditures are okay and our profit margin is okay.
Do I hear a motion on?
asked me about that recently, so I haven't talked to you about it.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Ps. You've given yourself extraordinary power to expel users from a public use airport for a violation of any rule. That's what it says. Any rule, the manager can expel a person who has a valid reason to be here owning an airplane. Our only appeal is to this board under these SOPPs, the very people that wrote the rules. Does this sound like democracy? You're not taking any input from us. You're enforcing these rules on us. These rules are only directed at the airport users. There's no one else in the whole city of Taunton, in the whole state of Massachusetts, that these rules are directed to. They're directed to us, the people sitting here. And we have had no say at all. You formed a committee to impose these rules on us. And that's not American. That's not the right way to do this. You know, this, you are slamming this down our throats. And it's not fair, and it's not right.
I mean, Fred, I mean, Doug, that's exactly Constitution. We've got an administrative problem. The other issue is that now, under the manager, you have a private entity versus a government entity acting on behalf of a government agency. You can't do that. That's just some of the problems. An appeal would be to this board. However, if there's any problem with the decision of this board, namely you don't agree, there's the line of Superior Court appeal in Massachusetts, which probably would shred it.
Costs money.
Right, costs money.
Actually, all the inputs, and that's the point of to the commission for consideration with a variety of different recommendations to the commission. It's not all no, it's not all yes, it's a mix of things, because some good points were mentioned. However, that said, it's all your inputs. I reviewed everyone, and wherever a reference was made, I looked up the reference. Whenever an implication was made, I looked up the regulation that covers that. One of the things that was missing, or if not well understood probably, is what governs airports is not the FAA regs, it's principally Chapter 90, Section 51, as you well know.
In part, yes.
Yes. For the most part, the authority to adopt rules, the authority to take a who can enforce the rules is in this Section 51J of Chapter 90.
Which is true.
Which covers a wide ground. That said, as I'm trying to look at the big picture when I'm making the recommendations to the committee, because it's not just the FAA rules, it's not just Chapter 90, it is also the TSA rules, which now are applied to general aviation airports, and the 702 CMR for airports. So it's not all one way or the other. There's a variety of things that or a variety of rules that are in play here. And I think what we need to see is what the committee will end up bringing back to the commission. But it's not, or the authority of the airport manager is very clear in Chapter 90. It's not only mentioned in the 9051E, which is the authority for the commission. It also gives a couple of authority to the airport manager, and if there's ever an assistant manager. And then Chapter 50, or Section 51J, talks about the rules and how the rules are adopted, how they're promulgated. They have to go to MassDOT for final approval and legal review. And then, only then, is it approved and it has to be published.
If I may comment on that, what is missing? Everything you said is correct, except for one thing that is missing. That whenever a government agency, such as this, promulgates rules and regulations, the Massachusetts Administrative Procedures Act comes to play. On the federal level, it's the Federal Administrative Procedures Act. You're reciting CMR, Code of Mass Regulation. That went through the NAPA, as it's known. This does too for the regulatory aspect. That's what's missing here.
And it's not promulgated until we receive the letter of approval.
No. The approval process specifically dictates the type of formalities. There's an informal process they call hybrid and a formal process for rule making. If you look at the Administrative Procedures Act, look up rule making. That's implied in every single regulation that is promulgated by a government entity. This is a government entity. And we are right now in violation of that law.
Juanita's been trying to get it, and I'll give you right after Juanita, okay? Wait.
Hi, Juanita Gallagher. I think cooler heads need to prevail here. First of all, I've known Fred since his kids were born, which tells you how old I am. And I know he's a fair guy. But I gotta tell you people something, okay? I've dealt with things like this in my job forever. I'm with the MBTA on the board, I work in the DOT, I deal with this. When someone brings a set of ordinances or regulations or SOPs this size, of which I have printed out, there's no way you can have like a month. Usually it's 60 to 90 days to review it. And just so you know, the more decent thing, maybe not your regulation, but the more decent thing to do would be to have a group made up, an ad hoc committee of a selection of the Taunton Pilots Association, your people, of course, because it is an administrative issue, and get feedback. It's not something you can even do in a month. This is a huge document. I saw a lot of things in it that were completely irresponsible. Not that it was your fault, but as you said, you're putting the tail before the dog. As Bill said, once you accept something, and they use the word ordinance, in a municipal corporation, which we have, that's a law. Going back and changing it's a lot harder once you accept it. It's really hard. It's not an easy thing to do, and I know everybody here wants to do the right thing, but the perception has become, as you've heard, a lot of unhappy people, is that it seems like a small group, which I'm sure you know a lot about this airport, are running everything, and from what I can see, your revenue here comes from fuel and from hangar rent, which is your revenue, which is your bread and butter. And at all these meetings, I've heard people say, I'm leaving, I'm going to another airport. You don't want that. I know you don't want that. And I think these people, these pilots should have input almost equal to yours, so you can work together. I know you want transparency. I hope that's what you want. But the perception is now that there's such a divide. I looked at these and I see that people have been giving power that's incredible. I mean, you can't say, I did something wrong and the people who gave me that power are gonna be the ones to judge me. There's ethics here, there's all kinds of things that go on, and it shouldn't be that way, and I don't think you want it that way, but I think it's been that way for so long that you're kind of in a rut. And I just want you to know that the proper way to do this is really, when you have a draft, is to change what you have to do. That's what the word draft means. Get the correct wording and language in there, and then accept it. And have everybody have the input, not just say, we're gonna do it, and then when we find things wrong, we'll go back and fix it, because that will go on forever. I just wanted you to know that. I think you all want to do the right thing, but you just need to be more on the same page.
It's Juanita, no clapping. When it's not gonna be finally accepted until we get approval from MassDOT. I mean, like I said, we're accepting the document tonight, but it's not, we're still gonna be working under our old SOPs until we get the final approval from MassDOT. So it's not a final approval, it's just
Did the Taunton Pilots Association get to have some input into that with you guys?
They did. We got input from them.
Okay, all right,
We did get input from them.
thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I just, you said it before I did, if we got a committee here, if we have a couple of folks from the community on the committee, there's no harm, we'll get a little bit of input that way too, you know?
They gave us, I think this is an advisory, administrative thing, and I think we should just
Right.
keep it.
It's an that's the issue. It's an administrative thing that's governed by a state statute with
Doug Cooper.
regulations.
Airport user. Joe, I wanna thank you for your input on the laws and regulations, citing the Code of Federal Regulations. Wow, that's great. Here's the point. These rules and regulations and ordinances are only directed at us, the airport users. They are solely directed at us, and we don't vote for you. We have no voice. That's a matter of ethics. We have no control over who makes these rules and regulations. We don't even have a voice in the committee. This is unethical, it's wrong, it's un-American. You can't do that. These rules apply to the airport users. We are the airport users. We don't accept them. We don't want them, not in this form. And to be excluded from the airport on the whim of the manager, then to have an appeal to the commission, which are the same people that wrote these rules. Does that sound right? Does that sound right to you for a public use airport? It's wrong. This is wrong. What you're doing is wrong.
Hey,
Go ahead.
hey, all in favor? Aye.
No. That also would be. You just violated the open meeting law, Fred.
No.
They can't express public sentiment, which they were just doing. You just stymied it, and then you shut them down, which is another violation. I see, where's your legal acts tonight?
They need to maintain
Violation of
proper
the
decorum. They did not. They gave a chance to speak, they did.
Yeah, but there
But
was
then
still
they clapped
people
their
out
hands. They
there
did
that
not
wanted to
maintain proper
speak.
decorum.
And
Fred
then you asked them to stop, and they kept.
Well within our rights.
They can applaud.
No.
They can applaud. It's allowed.
No.
Check out the open meeting law.
Jan, just a puppet.
To who? I don't represent anybody on this field.
Oh, yeah.